Now on the line, Jake Tapper, host of CNN's The Lead and the State of the Union. He's a very busy man, but he's taking a few moments out to talk to us. It's been an interesting week here in the nation's capital, Jake, what with the Pope coming to town and all that. So he left. He's in New York now. He got still a lot of things to do. But what do you think about that speech he gave to Congress? What were we supposed to draw from that?
Well, I've never seen so many politicians' natural-born cynicism and skepticism and, political talking points. I've never seen them melt away so quickly. And when you go into the body of the Pope's speech, and granted, it was very cleverly and loftily written, but basically, he came out against abortion, in favor of action on climate change, and he asserted that it was man-made, the humans contributed to it at the very least. He seemed to come out in favor of both the Obama policies when it came to Cuba and Iran. He talked about the need to stop demonizing immigrants, and he talked about embracing people who come to get a better life. There was something there. He talked about the sanctity of a heterosexual marriage, one man, one woman. There was something there for everyone in that chamber to disagree with. I mean, I can't think. I've been racking my brain and trying to think if there's one politician who agreed with the Pope on everything, and I can't think of one.
Well, it's also interesting. We were observing earlier that it also gave everybody the opportunity to say they really liked the speech because there was something they probably did agree with. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, is that everybody listened to the part they liked. The parts that were against their views were either written in such a way so as to not poke them, or it was the messenger was just such a delight that they didn't really seem to take offense. So I mean, it was just remarkable in that way. And then, of course, the most remarkable thing is that he goes and has lunch with homeless people in Washington, D.C. instead of running into the trappings of Capitol Hill or the White House or whatever. So I mean, he's just it's just a reminder that outside of our town here in Washington, there are bigger things and more important things than what we spend a lot of our time focused on.
Yeah, well said, Jake Tapper. And listen, if that was his sort of bipartisan address before Congress, that may stay here in Washington, excuse me, because he's heading to Philadelphia, and his message at the family summit there is not going to be very ambiguous, right? I mean, I know you're heading to Philadelphia as well, right?
Yeah, I'll be anchoring tomorrow, and then we'll be doing State of the Union Sunday morning from Philadelphia. We'll be talking to a number of Catholic politicians whose political views are not necessarily squared up exactly with the Pope on a lot of these issues. We'll be talking to Martin O'Malley and Nancy Pelosi and Bob Casey.
Wow.
Bob Casey, who, by the way, it comes closest, I think, to where the Pope is on a lot of these issues, although I'm not quite sure about all of them.
But he doesn't always vote with the Pope. And not that, a Catholic politician has to vote, quote unquote, with the Pope. But when he's in Philadelphia, it's going to be all about the sanctity of marriage and family. That's going to be a heavy message.
Yes, that's right, and certainly opposition to same-sex marriage is part of that, but also as part of this Pope and how he addresses things. It's not just that; it's also unwed mothers. It's also families and the dignity of people who work and try to get out of poverty. It's also climate change. It's also immigration. I mean, when I've talked to people who are either experts on the Pope or actually work for the Vatican, and I say, well, the message, how strong is the message on Sunday going to be about same-sex marriage? They say, I mean, that's part of it, but that's not the whole thing. I mean, it's about divorce. It's about the breakup of families. It's about where we are as a society in preserving families. So yes, the Pope opposes same-sex marriage, but there's much more to it than that.
All right, so the Pope's gone on to New York and then to Philly, as you mentioned. Today, the Chinese president is here. Xi Jinping is going to be here, and then we also learned that the president is going to meet with Vladimir Putin on Monday, I guess it is, in New York at the UN Assembly meeting. Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk with both of those guys about.
Yeah. Now, this is always the dilemma when it comes to dealing with other superpowers, China and Russia, I guess most notably, which is how far do you go and push these countries that are human rights abusers, that are doing things militarily and territorially that are at odds with the interests of not just the United States, but arguably the world. Because, without question, the United States needs the cooperation of Russia and China on other matters. On the other hand, you could argue that the reason we have the Iran deal that we have, and a lot of people don't like it in this town, is because ultimately, no matter what we were going to do, no matter what the United States was going to do, China and Russia were ready to get rid of the sanctions and start doing deals with Iran. So this is a dilemma. We actually, we talked about trying to get into this during the debate, but it's such a complicated and complex question that it's probably better for individual interviews, which is, where are you when it comes to allies, and not allies, when it comes to these other superpowers with whom we have alliances, but they're ones that are shaky, and we're not completely comfortable with them, whether it's Russia or China. And then secondarily, where are you when it comes to countries like Pakistan that are that we give lots of money to, but their people burn our flag in the street.
Jake Tapper's our guest, of course, host of CNN's The Lead every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, and then the State of the Union on the weekends. And Jake, a couple of stories sort of went under the radar while all the attention was on the Pope in Washington this week. And one of them I really wanted to talk to you about, the issue of this soldier, Green Beret, who was dismissed from the Army because he tried to intervene in Afghanistan with an accused rapist. I know you spent a lot of time in Afghanistan. You talked to the soldiers. What do you know about stories like this and this rape culture?
Well, we interviewed Dan Quinn, who was the other soldier in that incident. We interviewed him and did a piece on this on Monday. And it's a question of, look, first of all, it's obviously horrendous. It's horrific. Now, my understanding, as explained to me by Dan Quinn, and I'm not trying to justify it, but the orders from the commanders are, look, we're here to have good relations with the Afghan army, to have good relations with the Afghan police, to train them and to get out of here. If there's a crime committed, report it to local authorities. But but this is not the United States. We can't court-martial an Afghan policeman. And that obviously, emotionally and morally, was not sufficient for Dan Quinn and Marland, the other special operations soldier or Marine that got in trouble here. And look, it's a horrific story. And right now, back in Afghanistan, people with the government are reasserting what the laws are and everything. But look, when I was researching my book about Afghanistan, the Outpost, I would hear about I heard from a naval officer about a naval physician assistant, a lieutenant commander with the Navy, who was a physician assistant in a local, what's called a provincial reconstruction team, a PRT. It's basically just a nation building area for the United States and allies, and he would have to treat wounds on kids and younger, weaker males who were attacked and preyed upon by village elders and the like. And it would take place on Thursday nights, which is like the Muslim Saturday night because it's the day before the Holy Day, Friday.
Oh, geez.
And they would drink fermented wine, and they would sexually assault and rape boys and young men.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. And the question about what to do is a tough one because you're not in the United States, and these are in many cases the authorities in the town that are committing these crimes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Jake. I know it is an issue, and hopefully they're doing something about it. Excuse me. Thanks for joining us as always, Jake.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.